All right, guys, Pablo is back. You don't know who Pablo is? He ships stuff. He ships your house down to Costa Rica, ships your car down to Costa Rica. Don't like Costa Rica? He'll ship it back for you. And we're going to talk to him in a minute, but we're actually going to be talking today about shipping vehicles down here. Now, real quick, we've already made a video with Pablo. It's kind of the 101 of what he does. So I'm going to put the link in the description. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you're thinking about moving to Costa Rica, you definitely want to check that out. But today's video is more about vehicles. Anyway, guys, I'm Michael Allen, TravelCostaRicaNow.com. TravelCostaRicaNow.com is a travel agency. So go to TravelCostaRicaNow.com. Fill out the 4-minute form. You'll be that much closer to vacation of a lifetime. We're like you, having best friends who live in Costa Rica, who know Costa Rica, totally hooking up your Costa Rica vacation. YouTube does not care if you subscribe. I do. Please subscribe. But if you want to see the videos as we put them up and you want to bust that algorithm that YouTube likes to mess with so you don't see my videos, you got to hit the notification bell. Pablo, thanks for coming back. All right, first, okay. They know who you are now, but if they haven't seen that, that prior video, just a brief, description of what your services provide.
All right. So to make it really short, lots of people need to move abroad. That's what we do. We help people with the shipping part, the logistics, and in that way, in the way of all of that, we love to provide advice. Just like you providing advice on the YouTube. So we do consultation calls. We sit down with each customer. 15 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes to an hour, and you have questions and we provide answers, different things about Costa Rica and to many other countries. We ship to Costa Rica, to Panama, and to many other popular expat destinations, and we are trying to build the first international shipping company that is really specialized in expats that are moving abroad, not just in the corporate business, but more like for you guys, expats that are looking to move to Costa Rica and to other countries.
So you really can handhold them from bringing their household goods, getting it out of their house to a house in Costa Rica, technically.
Exactly. So we do international moving services. That's the core service. The main difference I do feel we have is we really take the time to explain everything along this process because there's a lot of moving parts.
Can I just interrupt you really quick? I'll tell you what the major difference is you. You're the one that makes the major difference in what's going on here. I get a lot of good feedback, dude, about you. Yes, I don't think people spend as much time as you do with customers. But anyway, go on.
But there is a reason why. There's a reason why. Of course, it's nice to think that Pablo is a nice guy. I try to be a nice guy, but
he's nice.
Everything we're trying to do is, if I give you an honest description of the process, if I explain everything to you, when we go into a operation mode, we coordinate for the container, we coordinate customs clearance. When we go into this, sometimes it's 2 months, sometimes it's 3 months, we're gonna have a nice experience. This is like, you hire our company, this is like we're married for 3 months. So if I hide things from you, what's gonna happen is you're gonna say, hey, Pablo's lying to me, nobody told me this, and that's what's gonna happen, and that's what happened with most other shipping companies. They do not have the right way of expressing and explaining everything that this takes, everything that this takes. So when they go into operation, they end up having issues of communication with the customer.
You never told me that. I didn't know I had to pay that.
The reviews are horrible. If you Google an international moving company or just a moving company in the United States, you see it's very normal, bad reviews. Moving companies have bad reviews in general. And the key is here, and we have this as a culture for our businesses, the over-communication approach. And if we spend the time, I'd rather for you not to hire my services or our services and have a good feedback. We have a good relationship and we're doing good to the community, than if you're hiring the service, then if you're not happy with what you're getting. And I think that's why we do it. And we have it as a process, and we have other relocation specialists. It's not just me in the company. And this is the culture. This is how we wanted to do this. And we train our people to explain things to our customers this way.
This is why we connect, because I like the way he does things. He's very customer service oriented. He's trying to help out. He goes the extra mile. So I really like that. And let's be honest, moving your stuff in a container over the ocean and doing all your household stuff, or whether it's your car, that's very stressful. That's a stressful and a very important decision on who's going to do that.
It's like literally 3 months, like 20,000 miles. I mean, it's very complicated.
Right. And there's a lot of different people involved, isn't
It's a
there?
big chain of service providers, the movers that go to your house, the packing. There's many different things, and the only way I learned over a decade, 13 years now of doing this, is by over explaining everything. Most of my customers do not have experience in international shipping, so we sit down, explain everything as much as possible. We do these conference calls. You can go to our website or through Michael Allen. He introduces, and basically we ask you, let's book a call. Let's sit down, and I like to take at least 20 minutes, talk about all of the details. And at the end of the phone call, many people do not ship. They want to wait, or they decide this is not for them, and that's all good as well. And at the end of the day, many people will refer more customers, and that's going to be great for the business. And at the end of the day, if you end up working with this international shipping service, it's going to be a better experience. And if you go Google our name, you'll see 5-star reviews across the board. That's the main thing. That's the main goal.
Before we get into the vehicles, he just kind of said it, but if you want to get a hold of Pablo, you're already thinking, yeah, I'd like to talk to Pablo. Just write us. I'll connect you the same day. I'll probably within about 10 minutes of you sending me the email. I usually see it very quickly. But anyway, just write us, info@travelcostarica.com. We'll get over to Pablo. Okay, I get a ton of questions about cars, and it's usually, I guess, centered around money. But okay, when we're talking about vehicles, I'm just assuming most people want to ship their cars. What are maybe some of the, main questions they're asking you about their vehicle?
Well,
depends on the year.
To start, most people think shipping the vehicle to Costa Rica is less expensive than buying a vehicle in Costa Rica. That's kind of like the start. So the first question is, how much is it going to cost me? And that's, it depends on where you're coming from. I have people, we talk to people that are shipping their vehicles from Spain, from Europe, from Canada, and from the United States for the most part. And if you're in Canada, this is more expensive. You're gonna have to have your own container for your vehicle, and it's gonna be at least twice as much expensive than if you live in Florida, as example. So the cost is very important, because if it's a vehicle, if it doesn't mean anything to you personally, if it's not your classic car that you have this feelings for your vehicle, at the end of the day, is an asset versus another asset. You either buy it in Costa Rica or ship it from wherever you're coming from. And a lot of times it may be more expensive to ship depending on where you're coming from and depending on what type of vehicle. Costa Rica import tax system is very complex. So each vehicle gets taxed differently. So that's another important part.
Yeah, the Kelly Blue Book that isn't the Kelly Blue Book down here about how they price your vehicle. Mm-hmm. I also want to say real quick before we, a lot of you guys have heard about those tax incentives. So if you're, they want you to live in Costa Rica. So they were saying last year, we've got a law, you can bring 2 cars down here with no import taxes. We just want to let you know that has not come in fruition yet. It's a law, but they haven't done the details. When they do the details, trust me, we'll be the first to tell you, and we'll tell you all 100%. About it. But right now, that is not an option. So just think right now, you're paying import taxes on your vehicle. So.
Yep. And this goes for 2 vehicles. It could be a boat. It could be a motorcycle. So it's 2 vehicles. But it's not ready yet. The law has not been implemented. And in my experience, this type of laws within the customs system could take a year, a couple of years. At the very beginning, I was very optimistic. Oh, this is going to be great. A lot more people is going to start shipping their vehicles and do more business. And I start digging into other similar laws. How long did it take? And some of the laws for customs within customs I seen after my research, 2 years to implement, 3 years to implement. So
I think this one might be a little rougher because this involves a couple different organizations. And I know, I can't remember the different ones that were involved, but one had a lot of recommendations that the government didn't follow. The ones that, the container people, the immigration people, wherever those people are, they had a list. They had higher requirements. The government didn't listen to any of them. And so I think somebody might be dragging their feet a little bit because it's not just one entity of the government here doing this, and they got to get together and try to make this happen.
And I do think if this goes through, this is 2 entities: immigration and customs, or Hacienda, which is basically the IRS for Costa Rica, Hacienda. So Hacienda or Customs has to basically request for the customer or whoever is doing shipping the vehicle has to request, you have to prove that you're actually moving into Costa Rica. You have to start your immigration process. So if this goes through, it will be for somebody that is already in the immigration process mood.
Right. Yeah, let's not
for a tourist.
Let's not complicate it. We're just saying that hasn't happened yet. We'll let you know when that's going to happen, or when it does happen. So anyway, let's get back to vehicles a little bit. I don't know. I've been making videos for 14 years, and I pretty much tell everybody, don't ship your car down there. But, people are going to, like what you said, maybe their grandmother gave them that car, or whatever, and it means something to them, or they are big, they love cars. So I think a lot of people have heard that any car here is double the price than it is in the United States. And I think they think that, well, it must be cheaper if I ship it. It can't be double the actual price of the car.
Okay, this is, it's silly. I'll say, I'm agree with you, and I'll say 80% of the times may not be worth it. And most of the times it may not be worth it for different reasons. One is, it's not practical. For the daily use, you're getting a vehicle that is manufactured for Canada or United States, with a market that already have the parts, already have the service, already have everything. Now you're getting this vehicle that is completely different. You're getting this vehicle into Costa Rica, so it's not really practical. Believe me, a lot of the mechanics, you need a mechanic, you need to maybe fix something. A lot of the mechanics may be surprised about the engine. It's a different engine. They're used to Toyotas and the Japanese and Hyundai, and you are coming with a Lincoln Navigator, you're coming with, a lot of these American muscle cars.
Good luck with getting the parts too, right?
You're not gonna find parts, so you're gonna have to order the parts from Florida, which is the fastest way. So let's say best case scenario is gonna be a week, but if you end up having a Toyota or a Hyundai, you don't have to wait a week for the part. So those are the things a lot of people do not think about. So it's not really practical in many, many cases.
So besides cost, what are some of the factors that people should consider if it seems like it all comes down to cost? Is it worth it or is it not worth it? But is there any other reasons people should or shouldn't bring their car here?
Let's say shouldn't if the vehicle that you're trying to import is not in the local market. If you're not,
like the Lincoln,
if you're buying something that is completely different than what you see in our roads, then you're gonna face issues. And not just that. Let's say you're trying to sell that vehicle later. So most Costa Ricans are not gonna buy a V8, 5.0 liter, big engines. Costa Ricans are not gonna buy it. So you're gonna be stuck with a vehicle that's maybe worth in the States $10,000, and you're gonna have to sell it here for less because there is no buyers, there is no market. So that's another negative part. So if the vehicle is not, the normal vehicle, Toyota, let's say the brands, the Toyota, the Mitsubishi, the Honda, Hyundai.
Who makes
Kia.
a Sidekick? Sidekicks are everywhere.
Sidekick is Suzuki.
Suzuki.
And it's very popular, and you get parts everywhere. And also, if the vehicle has a big engine, V6, V8 engine, even though there are some Toyotas in the US, you can buy a Tacoma, you can buy the 4Runner. Those are gasoline, V6, V8. People would think, well, there is a lot of Toyotas in Costa Rica, but the Toyotas we have in Costa Rica are diesel 4-cylinder. So
really?
So most of the Toyotas that they sell here at the
this is why we talked to Pablo.
Yeah, so you're buying a vehicle that looks exactly the same. You get it here, and then you have a big engine, and it's okay. It's a great car, and for that, I'm sure they may have service in Costa Rica. Not every dealership has service on all of the vehicles that are being imported in Costa Rica, but for the most part, Toyota does. I have a customer that imports a Nissan Pathfinder, like in a special edition hybrid, and the Nissan dealership in San Jose told him, we are not able to service your vehicle because we don't carry the hybrid version in Costa Rica. So those are things that you have to research before you ship your vehicle. So back again to the fuel economy and the engine. If you have a big engine, it's not a good idea. You're not gonna find a buyer later. It will have to be another expat that is in love with big engine and does not care about spending a lot of money on fuel.
Or to get parts.
So if the fuel economy is important for the vehicles in Costa Rica, I see all the time. If you have a small car that has got a 2.0 engine, 2000 cc engine, it's going to be harder for you to sell. So it means that you're going to lose money on that. So all of the vehicles that are being listed online, if your vehicle is gasoline with a big engine, you're going to have to lose money on that versus a local version that is a 1.5 or 1.6, 1500 cc. Those vehicles will sell faster and for more money.
Okay, let's say they decide, well, Pablo, I heard you say all that, but I want to bring down my car. So what would be may not be simple, but what is the process of that? Getting a hold of you, how's it all play out?
Okay, well, I'd like to explain, kind of like walk you through the process if possible. Basically, there's two ways of shipping vehicles. One is called RO, which means roll on, roll off. This is like a big ferry. This ferry is, people, basically we coordinate to pick up the vehicle at your property. We get it to the port, and at the port it waits for a big ferry. This RO services, RoRo services, and the vehicle will have to be empty. So these companies that offer RoRo services do not allow you to put stuff inside of the vehicle, and basically they just get it from the port and drive it inside of this big ferry.
So it really is like a ferry.
It's a big ferry that is designed for international services. There is only one service that comes into Latin America from the States, and it's in the Atlantic Ocean. So all of the ports, New York, Baltimore, Jacksonville, Charleston, Miami, Florida, they pick up vehicles and they get vehicles down from north to south, and this is not available on the Pacific Ocean. So people is shipping vehicles from California or from Seattle.
Not really an option.
It's not an option for them because they're gonna have to pay the freight from California all the way to the other side of the states, and that's gonna be a lot more expensive. So
if it goes to option B, then
so if that's your case, it will be better for you, if you're in California, it will be better for you to use a 20-foot container, 40-foot container. Once again, that's more expensive, but it allows you to bring your vehicle and many other things. You can have your vehicle and load the remaining space with more stuff, whatever you have, even some furniture, or maybe upgrading to a 40-foot container, and then it may be more worth it. If you're in the Californian side or in the Pacific Ocean. And this is for the States. And in Canada, RoRo is not available, so the only way is ship it in a container, or maybe drive it down. And having a vehicle, I have customers that they say, well, California is too expensive. Can I take it and they drive it actually to the other side.
Now, their container method is still good on the east side. Not just a RO.
Yeah, on both sides.
You can still do the whole container thing.
On both sides. People would just be willing to drive it to save money. So you have to, do the math to see if that's worth it, because driving 20, I don't know how many hours, 20 hours, 30 hours.
Obviously, this is a depends question, but just for a ballpark thing. Okay, they are on the east side. They want to do the container method because they want to put some more stuff in there. They get a 40-foot container. Ballpark figure. Much? Yeah, I know.
No, it's okay.
They're going to ask me. They're going to go, well, you didn't say anything about prices.
I give it to you. I have a few. We're doing a few right now from around California, Seattle. It's about anywhere between $8,000 to $10,000. So it's expensive. So if you're thinking, I'm shipping my car because Costa Rica cars are too expensive, and then you're paying up front for the freight, $8,000, $7,500, all the way up to $10,000, it will have to be something that you really need to have in Costa Rica.
So that freight thing is just getting the container, putting it on a boat and bring it down here. It has nothing to do with import check.
No,
that's just a feed.
International logistics out of California, and California it happens to be a lot more complicated than shipping from Florida.
Everything's more complicated in California.
Well, I don't know.
We don't have to talk about that. But
Okay, but the point is yeah, it's about the average shipment is $9,000 for a 20-foot container. If you put a car in there, or if you put your household goods in there, it's about the same. The normal service, includes picking up the vehicle, loading the vehicle, securing the vehicle within the container. So a few things that we do when we do this, securing the vehicle, is we lower the pressure, the pressure of the tires, disconnect the battery. We have to make sure that the fuel on the vehicle is very low, less than a quarter. If you want to do it yourself, or you're thinking about all of these things, those are things that you have to consider. And then you also have to sign an agreement, as this is called dangerous goods. They sign an agreement that states that you're doing all these things, that you are preparing your vehicle for international freight.
So okay, thank you for that. What about a ballpark on I live in Florida. I live in, what's the RORO?
In
Approximately,
Florida,
we
have ways to get it down to like $4,000, $4,000 to $5,000, and not even in a RORO. This is in a container. Out of Tampa, we have, and this is very particular to Costa Rica, we have a small shipping vessel line that it's very small, that ships things from Costa Rica, basically fruits and pineapples and juices from Costa Rica to Tampa. And they pick up vehicles and load their containers, so it will be sealed in a container with all the things. You can put more things in there, and it's about $4,000 to $5,000. And it's very quick because it's a direct freight, and that's out of Tampa. If you're dealing with Miami, it's usually a bit more expensive, and it takes a lot more time, because the vessel line companies that do Miami or all of these other ports, they stop in Mexico, they stop in many other countries.
Okay.
So there's a good option out of Tampa that I like a lot.
Is there much differences with things like motorcycles or ATVs? Does it change everything, or is it similar?
It's silly, it's silly. A lot of people say it's only a motorcycle. It's small, right? But if you're thinking, okay, can I rent just the space for the motorcycle and share the container with many other?
Kind of like having a little pallet. Some people do, or whatever.
That's many companies do not like to take motor vehicles in a shared container. So the companies that consolidate, they feel this motorcycle could make a delay or problem, or could put at danger the rest of the pallets in the shipment. So it's kind of tricky. Out of Tampa, I think we can still do that and have a good rate. But for the most part, at any other port, we won't have to have your own container just for the motorcycle.
Oh, so you really technically can't rent the space. You're going to have to get some
sort
of
container. There is restrictions. It's really, really hard. I tried it for years. I haven't found a good provider that offers this. And sometimes when I did find a provider, they later changed their own rules of shipping, because motor vehicles, there's a lot behind. Motor vehicles could be stolen. So Homeland Security in the U.S. requires to have the title and makes an inspections. And when they make the inspection, they say, oh, this container cannot leave the port until we make an inspection. So it means that they will have to get the container from port, get it into an inspection facility, look at the bin number, compare the title, and that's going to delay 10 other customers. So this is why these companies, they don't like to share. Now, if we found, two expats, we decided to hey, we have this motorcycle, and then you have to ship your household goods, and we internally coordinate with our customers, that's a different story. But that's kind of difficult to coordinate at the same time for 2 or 3 customers. It's very, in a decade, maybe only 2 times I was able to coordinate 2 customers out of the same zip code to come to Costa Rica with 2 different shipments.
So there's just, with a motorcycle, like any other vehicle, there's just more red tape, and it just prolongs things. And
vehicles in general, because vehicles first are considered dangerous goods.
I don't know, because of engines and stuff.
It's got an engine. It's got liquids. It's got fuel in it. Containers get to be really, really hot daytime, really, really cold at night. So it could create a big issue. So you have to follow all of these rules. That's on the dangerous good part. Now, vehicles are subject to being, things that are being stolen. So if somebody steals a vehicle, wants to ship the vehicle to Mexico, take it to another country, that's kind of like, this is an illegal business that is real, is happening. So shipping companies, customs, they're all aware about these things, and they have processes and red tape to prevent these things.
Do you ship many motorcycles? You personally, I mean, do a lot of people want to do that, or?
Motorcycles is, you have to be somebody that likes motorcycles.
Right. It's probably usually a Harley.
Last year I had, I'll say, in a year, probably six families, one with at least 4 motorcycles and 2, 3, 4-wheelers.
Yeah.
Gentleman from Samara, Patrick from Samara.
Patrick. So ATVs are similar, like motorcycles, or
it's the same. As long as you have an engine and you need to put fuel in it, it's the same.
Same bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to get too complicated because I don't know why. I don't know. I could be way wrong. I don't know why I think boats are even more complicated, but maybe not. What about? Because I know when I first got here, a guy, my friend, did bring his boat down here. Same thing, or is it?
Okay, boats. The experiences that I have with boats are not many, but I have import a few. If you are in the Caribbean side, if you are near New York, Baltimore, all of these ports, we can do ro-ros with boats.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because if the boat is in a utility trailer, it's fairly easy to just hold the boat and put it in. So I didn't have not big surprise. It was just like a car.
Is there I'm sorry for these kind of dumb questions. Is there like a size issue with a boat? Are we just talking about a basic bayliner type of boat? I don't know.
The rates are based on the dimensions of the boat. So these ro-ro companies ask me to be very detailed about the dimensions of everything. And of course, if it's huge, it may be a different story. I have shipped a few, all of them mid-size, nothing really
like a family thing you go out on the Saturday.
Nothing huge, and the time where I quoted really big boats, the budgets were like 25,000, 30,000, all the way up. And I understand. I mean, these big boats could be worth $500,000 to $1 million. Right. So companies that are specialized in this, or our agents that specialize in moving these things, are not inexpensive. They do this $25,000, $30,000 quote, and they will have a specialized container, kind of like open. It's an open flat rack. Lift the boat in a crane with cranes, and do it's a lot of things that they have to do to move a big boat.
I can't even think. So boats, ATVs, motorcycles, cars. What's the biggest vehicle you've ever yourself had to bring? Have you ever do like an RV or something?
Just
do people do that? I don't even know if you do that.
Just recently, this was a very interesting project. I did 2 big mobile homes. We were just talking about it.
Oh, like the Airstreams.
Yeah, we did customs for 2 Airstreams. They were beautiful. I mean, to the eye, this classic look, retro style, aluminum. These things are worth over 100, brand new, 160,000. It's very expensive, and they were huge. With ro-ro, they can be moved with ro-ro.
But I'm assuming that's still going to be pretty pricey. It seems
it's super expensive.
But if you have if you have something like that, you probably have the money to.
Yeah,
to do
I mean,
that.
if you have the money to purchase a couple of those things, you will probably have the money to pay the import taxes. The import taxes on these things are, I believe, I will double check.
Double check that. So I think what people I just want to. You've said this, but it's just not getting the container, guys, and putting it in there. When you get to Costa Rica, you're going to have some fees, some import fees, and that's usually that's the indicator of maybe this is a little too expensive.
Yeah. So if you have a new mobile home like that does not have an engine on it, you're looking at 68.6%, so almost 70%. And if it's an older one, so people think, oh, if it's an old one, I'm gonna save money because I just bought it. It's very old. It's like 91%, 91. It's almost the same value of whatever you're buying it from.
Wow.
And another, on top of that, the process of getting the value for these things, how much customs think this is worth. It's a lot of red tape. We present all the information, and customs has to do research on it, and they will put the value. We don't get to put the value on these things. The customs they have a department that assigns values.
All right, so these videos are always going to generate more questions and answers. So maybe just summarize. Okay, top thing of what people should think about if they. You kind of said it, but maybe just summarize. If they're thinking about bringing their car, maybe just a couple things they should think about and summarize that whole thing. Because, we could talk about this. There's all those little nuanced questions, and I'm sure it's going to generate a lot of questions. But let's just end the video by you maybe summarizing, if you're really adamant, here's the few things you just make sure you considered.
Okay, the first thing is try to get a budget for the entire cost. And we can do that. When we do a conference call, we budget for the import taxes, and we try to give you a full 360-degree, idea of where all the fees are, because a lot of these fees are basically hidden fees, because you bring the vehicle to Costa Rica, and then the storage, the port has a fee, the storage at the customs terminal has another fee, and then once customs is completely ready, then you have to get it registered under your name. And you get it registered under your name, that's another legal fee. And by the way, I did a little research before this video to give you an idea. This could be on a 20,000. It's different on every car, but I did an estimate on a $20,000 car. This is after customs, how much your attorney would charge. For a $20,000 car, they send me a budget for about $700. Of an additional expense that nobody told me. It's one thing, nobody told me about this other thing, but that's not customs. That's the legal part to get it registered. Just like when
it's just that one thing.
Yeah, that's one. But this is just like when you're buying a vehicle in the U.S., you have to go to the DMV, and whatever the vehicle value is at, and if you're in California or Florida, this is different. If you're in California, I do guess the first registration is gonna be expensive. If you are in North Carolina or Florida, it may be less, but it's the same thing. The first registration in Costa Rica for a vehicle is going to create a fee that it could be, depending on the value, 1,000, 500, 700, and that's after my job finished. You still have to, do things, and you still can drive it. You still have to wait for that to be ready, and for the metal tax to be ready, and that's part of it. Another thing to consider is, do not just think about the shipping time, the cost, but think about what are you going to do without a vehicle. Are you going to rent a car, or are you going to get on the bus? Because a lot of people say, oh, I'm shipping my vehicle and saving money, and there's some vehicles out there that when I do the math, I did a Jeep the other day, an older Jeep. It's not the most popular Costa Rican car, but another Jeep, 1990, almost 2000. Import taxes were little on it. So to me, it makes sense on that type of vehicle, and they still get some mechanics to work on that. Not many, but you still get some. On that one, it makes sense to me. But people thinking, oh, shipping my Jeep, saving some money. It's a vehicle that I had it for years. It's paid off. It makes sense. So this is the case for one of my customers. But in the meantime, are you going to be renting a car? Because if you have to rent a car for 3 months,
you're in. That's
then it's $6,000. Right. I mean, it's $2,000 a month. 2,000. I mean, more about rental business. $2,000 a month.
Right. That's pretty much it.
Bam, 6. So you already ate, all of the savings that you thought you were gonna have. So if your case is that you needed, you have to have a car. I guess if you're in Escazú or in Grecia, San Jose, you can get an Uber, move around. Not a big deal. But if you are really far away from, good transportation, then you're gonna have to rent a car, and it may not be worth it.
Well, I think the bigger thing you said was the first thing you said. People just don't, because this is what they get pissed at. They get pissed about hidden fees. You're talking to somebody and you're going, okay, I want to ship my car, and the shipping company says, okay, the container's 7,000, you're going to have a little bit of this, and then you get here and you find out there's this and this and this
there's
and
another.
This. And this is why I think it's important to get someone that's transparent like you. This is why I like circling myself with people like you, because Well, I guess, yeah, but it's just like you get pissed. You're down here, you're budgeting, you're trying to work things out, and all of a sudden you just got slammed with $4,000 you didn't know anything about. And you're like, what the hell, Pablo? You didn't tell me shit. You know, that kind of thing. Sorry, I bet it's the same thing because it's very similar to renting a car here. You think that was the price, then you get to the rental car place.
It's another
I'm
thing.
sorry, did we? And they know they're screwing with you. And you know, they know, and it's like this thing, and you're going, and you can't do anything. But anyway, so I really like the fact that, you know, like you're gonna let them know, you're gonna be pretty close to ballpark about this is gonna be close to your complete cost from the car thing. So anyway,
I have a question on vehicles coming in. If, like you just said, this Jeep was an older Jeep. There's an age limit as to what you can bring into the country, and
Not yet. They have talked about it, but not right now.
Okay.
Maybe in the future they just pass a law, but not,
I thought,
not
yeah,
now.
I thought I kind of heard that too. So that never happened.
No.
I thought there was
They
an
didn't
age
wa-
limit, and also like your car had to be Costa Rica specs. They no longer want like mileages. They want kilometers on the speedometer.
Okay, there's a couple of
everything
things about that, but you can bring an older car. I don't think it's an issue. We haven't have any issue, but the issue could be if it does not pass the mechanical inspection at RTV. Now RTV right
Is that
now
in Costa Rica?
This
or
is
that-
Costa Rica. This is Costa Rica. Costa Rica has. Right now, we are in the limbo with RTV. RITEVE is the mechanical institution for Costa Rica.
Yeah, that's-
Every vehicle has to have a mechanical check every year. Emissions, safety, airbags, all of that jazz, right? So, you bring an older car, the risk is, you know, for
You're not
some
gonna
reason,
pass.
the emissions are not gonna go fine, and then you're gonna have to take it to a mechanic, put some money in it, and it could be an issue. And I had incidents where the vehicle did not pass, and I have incidents where the customer had to ship the vehicle back. Back. This was a very special case because it wasn't because it was an older car. It is because the customer wanted to have one small Honda Civic, but he put like a Corvette engine on it. So he put this V8 gigantic engine on a very small, tiny,
Civic.
less than 1,000 pounds. I don't know what it weighs, but it's not heavy. And the engine itself, it weighs like more than entire. So RTV said that's too dangerous for our roads.
I think that's probably the bigger thing, right? So if you bring down an older car and it can't pass for Tevi, you're screwed,
Yeah.
right?
I seen it happen.
All right, guys. Again, it's probably going to generate more questions. You want to talk to Pablo? Just reach out to us. info@travelcostarica.com.
Put questions in the comments.
Yeah,
Right,
you can even put questions in the
Yeah.
comments. We'll be talking to Pablo again. You know, he's good. So thank you so much. Anyway, guys, I'm Michael Allen, travelcostarica.com. That's Pablo. Things are going to pop up. If you're thinking about living or traveling anywhere, you should do your homework and research. And if it's Costa Rica, I'm going to say our videos. Ciao.